The stars looked different from the observation deck of the Earthship Intrepid. Commander Natalie Carson stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the unfamiliar constellations. After 3 weeks of faster-than-light travel, they had finally reached the edge of what the aliens called Council Space. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission," said Lieutenant Peter Kelly from his station. His voice sounded tense. "Put it through," Natalie ordered, straightening her blue uniform. This was humanity's first official contact with the Galactic Council after the initial probe had discovered Earth 6 months ago. The main screen flickered to life. A tall, thin alien with pale blue skin and large, pupilless eyes appeared. 4 smaller arms extended from its torso beneath its main arms. "Greetings, humans," it said in perfect English. "I am Zorlak, High Chancellor of the Galactic Council. We welcome your delegation to Vantara Prime." Ambassador William Hayes stepped forward. "High Chancellor, on behalf of Earth and all human colonies, we thank you for this invitation. We look forward to establishing peaceful relations with your people." Zorlak's mouth stretched in what might have been a smile. "The Council has existed for 12,000 years, Ambassador. We have guided many young species into the galactic community. We look forward to helping yours as well." Natalie didn't like the way he said, "helping." Something felt off about this whole meeting, but she kept her face neutral as the ambassador continued his prepared speech. 2 days later, the Intrepid docked at the massive space station orbiting Vantara Prime. The human delegation prepared to shuttle down to the planet's surface. Ambassador Hayes selected his team carefully: himself, Natalie, Lieutenant Commander Jack Murphy, and 4 other officers, including Dr. Samuel Green, Earth's leading xenobiologist. "Remember," Hayes told them as they boarded the shuttle, "we represent all of humanity. The future of our species could depend on making a good impression." Jack Murphy checked his sidearm discreetly. "With all due respect, Ambassador, I don't trust them. Something about this feels wrong." "Your concerns are noted, Commander," Hayes said with a tight smile. "But we must approach this with open minds." The council chambers were enormous, a vast dome made of some crystal-like material that caught the light of Vantara's twin suns. 27 different alien species sat in tiered seats, all watching the humans enter. Natalie felt like a specimen under a microscope. High Chancellor Zorlak greeted them at the center of the chamber. "The Council recognizes the human delegation from the planet Earth," he announced, his voice echoing. "You may present your case for recognition." Ambassador Hayes stepped forward and began his carefully prepared speech about Earth's history, achievements, and hopes for the future. He spoke of peaceful cooperation, scientific exchange, and mutual respect. As he spoke, Natalie noticed several council members exchanging glances. A small device on her wrist vibrated slightly, a signal from Aurora, Earth's most advanced AI system, which was monitoring all communications from the Intrepid. She glanced down at the tiny screen and felt her blood freeze. Aurora had intercepted a private channel between Zorlak and 3 other council members. The translated message scrolled across her screen. "The humans possess remarkable adaptability. Their planet has valuable resources. Recommendation: quarantine their system, harvest what we need, and add them to the labor pool. They would be useful in the mines of Draconis." Natalie caught Jack's eye and subtly showed him the message. His jaw tightened, but he gave a small nod, understanding the need to remain calm. Ambassador Hayes finished his speech to polite applause from the council. Zorlak rose to respond. "The council has heard Earth's petition," he said smoothly. "We find your species interesting. However, we have concerns about your warlike history and rapid technological advancement. The council proposes a period of observation before granting Earth full membership rights." "Observation?" Hayes asked, confused. "What exactly does that entail?" "A simple matter," Zorlak said. "We would establish monitoring stations in your solar system. Some of your people would be invited to visit various council worlds to learn our ways. In time, you would be granted limited travel and trade rights." Natalie stepped forward before she could stop herself. "High Chancellor, our sensors have intercepted communications suggesting that your true intentions are to quarantine Earth and exploit its resources and people. Is this true?" A shocked silence fell over the chamber. Zorlak's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You dare to spy on private council communications?" he hissed. "This proves humans cannot be trusted." "We cannot be trusted?" Jack Murphy stepped forward, his hand moving toward his weapon. "You plan to enslave us while pretending to welcome us." Zorlak made a sharp gesture and armed guards moved into the chamber from hidden doors. "The human delegation is hereby detained for crimes against the council. Take them." "Run!" Natalie shouted, drawing her sidearm. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Ambassador Hayes tried to call for calm, stepping between his team and the approaching guards. A beam of energy from one of the guards struck him directly in the chest. He fell without a sound. "Hayes is down," Jack shouted, firing his weapon at the nearest guard. "Everyone back to the shuttle." Natalie grabbed Dr. Green, who stood frozen in shock, and pulled him toward the exit. "Send emergency signal Alpha to the Intrepid," she ordered into her comm unit. "Tell them to prepare for immediate departure." The human team fought their way back through the corridors of the council building. 2 security officers fell to enemy fire before they reached the shuttle bay. "Get it started," Jack yelled as they rushed aboard their shuttle. Natalie jumped into the pilot's seat and activated the engines. "They're locking down the bay doors," she said, hands flying over the controls. "Blast them open," Jack ordered. The shuttle's weapons weren't designed for this kind of operation, but they had no choice. Natalie fired the forward guns at the massive doors. The explosion rocked the shuttle, but created an opening large enough to escape through. They fled toward the Intrepid. The ship's captain responded to their distress call. "What happened down there?" "The council betrayed us," Natalie said grimly. "Ambassador Hayes is dead. They planned to quarantine Earth and enslave humanity all along." "We have the proof," Jack added, holding up the data device that had recorded the intercepted messages. "And we're bringing it home." The Intrepid broke orbit as council ships scrambled to pursue them. Captain Frank Warren ordered maximum power to the newly developed faster-than-light drive. "Get us out of here, Helm," he ordered. "We need to warn Earth." As stars streaked past the viewport, Natalie looked at the shaken survivors of the delegation. "This isn't over," she said quietly. "The council doesn't know what they've just started." "Jack?" Murphy nodded, his expression grim. "No, they don't. But they're about to learn that humanity doesn't take kindly to threats. They wanted to see what humans are capable of." He looked out at the stars they were racing towards, back in the direction of Earth. "Well, they're going to find out." 8 months passed since the failed meeting with the Galactic Council. Earth had changed in that time. Factories that once made cars now built warships. Schools taught children about alien threats. Every human colony had new defense systems. Jack Murphy, now a full commander, stood in the war room beneath the Rocky Mountains. Large screens showed maps of council space and the movements of their ships. Admiral Catherine Reynolds studied these maps with tired eyes. She had not slept much since the news of Ambassador Hayes' death. "The prison is here," Jack said, pointing to a small moon called Draconus IV. "Our spies confirm they're holding at least 200 humans there. Some were captured from research outposts, others from ships that got too close to council territory." Admiral Reynolds nodded. "What do we know about their security?" "Standard patrol ships, orbital defense platforms. Nothing we can't handle with our new ships." The door opened and Captain Maria Diaz entered. She commanded the EDS Valiant, Earth's newest stealth vessel. "The Valiant is ready, Admiral. My crew is prepared for the rescue mission." Admiral Reynolds looked at them both. "This is more than just a rescue. We need information about Council defenses, their technology, and their plans. If they're preparing for a full attack on Earth, we need to know." "We'll get what we need," Jack promised, "and we'll bring our people home." 3 days later, the EDS Valiant slipped silently through space near Draconus IV. The ship's new cloaking technology kept it hidden from Council sensors. Jack and a team of 20 soldiers prepared in the drop bay. They wore the new combat suits, developed by Earth scientists, lightweight armor with built-in shields that could stop most energy weapons. "Remember the plan," Jack told his team. "We go in fast, locate our people, and get out. No unnecessary fighting." Captain Diaz's voice came over the comm. "Commander, We're in position, launching in 3 minutes. The dropships left the Valiant and flew toward the prison moon. Jack felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. The mission was personal for him. After returning to Earth with news of the Council's betrayal, he had worked tirelessly to prepare humanity for the coming war. The prison came into view, a gray structure built into the side of a crater. The dropships landed a mile away, hidden by rocky terrain. "Move out," Jack ordered, and the team began their approach. The prison guards were mostly Vex, a reptilian species known for their loyalty to the Council. They patrolled the outer walls with energy rifles. Jack signaled to his team's sniper, who took out the guards silently with tranquilizer rounds. "Main entrance secure," reported Lieutenant Ryan Barnes as the team reached the prison doors. "Starting the bypass now." While Ryan worked on the door, Jack checked his data pad. The prison's layout appeared on the screen provided by Earth Intelligence. "The holding cells are on level 3. We'll split into 2 teams once we're inside." The door slid open with a soft hiss. They moved inside quickly, weapons ready. The first guards they encountered fell before they could sound an alarm. Team B2. "Head for the control room," Jack ordered. "We need access to their systems." Jack led his team toward the holding cells. They encountered more resistance on the second level, a squad of Vex guards who opened fire as soon as they saw the humans. Jack activated his shield just as an energy blast hit him. The shield absorbed the energy and glowed brightly. "Push forward," he shouted, returning fire. The Vex fell back, surprised by the humans' advanced weapons. One of them reached for an alarm panel, but Lieutenant Kelly shot him before he could activate it. "Level 3 access ahead," Ryan reported, checking a terminal. "The cells are just beyond that security door." The door required a biological scan from an authorized guard. Jack looked at the fallen Vex nearby. "Bring that one," he ordered, pointing to a guard who was still breathing. "We need his hand." They dragged the unconscious guard to the scanner. The door opened, revealing a long corridor lined with cell doors. Jack could hear voices inside. Human voices. "Start opening them," he ordered. As the cells opened, haggard-looking humans emerged. Some wore tattered Earth Defense Fleet uniforms, others civilian clothes. Many showed signs of experimentation, strange marks on their skin, missing fingers, clouded eyes. "I'm Commander Murphy, Earth Defense Fleet," Jack told them. "We're here to take you home." A woman stepped forward from the last cell. Despite her thin frame and the scar across her cheek, she carried herself with dignity. "Dr. Olivia Bennett, Xenobiology Division," she said. "You're a sight for sore eyes, Commander." Jack recognized her name. "You led the research team at Europa Station." She nodded. "Until the Council decided we knew too much about their biology. They've been using us to test biological agents, weapons designed specifically to harm humans." Before Jack could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the prison. A voice came over his comm unit. "Commander, we've been compromised. Council warships are entering orbit." "How many?" Jack asked, already leading the prisoners toward the exit. 3 cruisers and several smaller vessels. They'll cut off our escape route in minutes," Jack thought quickly. "Get to the landing zone and prepare for emergency extraction. We're on our way with the prisoners." They moved as fast as they could, helping the weakest prisoners. When they reached the main entrance, Jack saw Council ships in the sky above. One was already landing near their dropships. "We won't make it to the landing zone," Ryan said, watching the ships through his scope. "We're not giving up," Jack replied. He turned to Dr. Bennett. "The research they forced you to do, did you learn anything about their weaknesses?" She smiled grimly. "More than they realize. Their energy weapons operate on a frequency that can be reflected back if you can match the exact wavelength. I memorized the frequencies while they tested their weapons on us." Jack activated his comm. "Captain Diaz, we need immediate extraction from the main entrance, and I need you to transmit the shield modifications I'm sending now." "That's experimental technology, Commander," Diaz replied. "It hasn't been properly tested." "No time like the present," Jack said as he sent the data from Dr. Bennett. The first Council soldiers appeared at the end of the corridor. Jack and his team formed a defensive line, protecting the prisoners. "Here they come," Ryan said, raising his rifle. The Council forces fired, their energy weapons lighting up the corridor. Jack activated his modified shield. Instead of just absorbing the energy, the shield seemed to catch it, swirl it, and then push it back. The reflected energy struck the Council forces, sending them flying backward. "It works," Jack shouted. "Everyone, shields up and advance." They pushed forward, using their shields to reflect the enemy fire back at them. Outside, they saw the Valiant breaking through the atmosphere, its weapons firing at the Council ships. "There's our ride," Jack said, pointing to the dropships that were racing toward their position. As they boarded the ships, Council cruisers moved to block their escape. Captain Diaz's voice came over the comm. "Hang on, Commander, this might get rough." The Valiant fired its main weapons at the lead Council cruiser. The shots hit the ship's engines, causing a massive explosion that damaged the two cruisers beside. "Get us out of here," Jack ordered as the dropships lifted off. As they escaped the moon's gravity, Jack looked at Dr. Bennett. "The information you gathered could change everything." She nodded. "The Council has been ruling through fear and superior technology for thousands of years, but they've never faced humans before." She looked out the window at the burning Council ships. "They have no idea what's coming." Back on the Valiant, Captain Diaz welcomed them to the bridge. "Mission accomplished, Commander. All prisoners recovered with minimal casualties." Jack nodded. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed. We need to get this information to Admiral Reynolds immediately." As the Valiant jumped to faster-than-light speed, Jack knew this successful mission was just the beginning. The real fight was still to come. But for the first time since the Council's betrayal, he felt something close to hope. Humanity had proven they could fight back. And soon, the Council would learn just how dangerous humans could be when pushed too far. The main lab under the Denver Mountain Complex hummed with activity. Dr. Olivia Bennett stood in front of a large holographic display showing a web of glowing points connected by lines of energy. Her rescue from the prison moon had happened 3 weeks ago. Since then, she had barely slept, working to share everything she had learned during her captivity. "It's called the Nexus Network," she explained to the gathered military leaders. "The Council uses these points to communicate across the galaxy almost instantly." Admiral Reynolds studied the display with narrowed eyes. "How does it work?" "Each Nexus point contains an ancient artifact that amplifies psychic energy. The Council species, especially the Zorians, have limited psychic abilities. These artifacts boost those abilities, letting them send messages faster than light." Commander Jack Murphy, standing near the back of the room, asked the question everyone was thinking. "Can we use it against them?" Dr. Bennett smiled slightly. "That's what I've been working on. The Council never realized that I could sense the Nexus energy while they were experimenting on me." She touched the scar on her cheek. "They were trying to see if humans had any latent psychic abilities that could be enhanced." "And do we?" asked Admiral Reynolds. "No, but we don't need them." Dr. Bennett pulled up a new image showing detailed scans of a small crystal device. "This is a fragment of a Nexus artifact I managed to steal before our escape. I've been analyzing its energy signature. We can't use the network like they do, but we can disrupt it." Jack stepped forward. "So we destroy these Nexus points and cut off their communications?" Dr. Bennett shook her head. "Even better. If we can access multiple points simultaneously and introduce the right energy pattern, we can create a feedback loop. Their entire network would temporarily shut down, and any Council species connected to it would be incapacitated." A murmur ran through the room. Admiral Reynolds leaned forward, interested. "How long would this disruption last?" "Based on my calculations, about 6 hours. More than enough time for a coordinated strike." Chief Scientist Dr. Alan Griffin joined them at the display. He had been helping Dr. Bennett with her research. "The challenge is accessing these points. They're heavily guarded on Council core worlds." Admiral Reynolds turned to Jack. "Commander Murphy, I'm putting you in charge of this operation. Work with Dr. Bennett to identify the most accessible Nexus points and develop a plan to hit them simultaneously." Jack nodded. "Yes, Admiral. We'll need small elite teams. Stealth will be essential." "You'll have whatever you need," the Admiral promised. "In the meantime, we'll prepare the fleet. When you disable their network, we'll launch our counterattack." After the meeting, Jack and Dr. Bennett walked to the smaller planning room they had been assigned. "We should target the point on Thraxis first," Dr. Bennett suggested. "It's a mining world on the edge of Council space. Security will be lighter there." Jack called up information on Thraxis. "Heavy mining operations for something called Novium." "What's that?" "The key component for manipulating the Nexus network," Dr. Bennett explained. "It's extremely rare. The Council controls all known sources. They spent the next week planning the mission." Jack selected his team carefully. Lieutenant Ryan Barnes for security, Sergeant Paul Davis for explosives, communications specialist Megan Ward, and of course, Dr. Bennett herself. The ship assigned to them was the EDS Shadow, a new stealth vessel, even smaller and faster than the Valiant. Captain Laura Chen welcomed them aboard with a crisp salute. "The Shadow is ready, Commander. We can be at Thraxis in 4 days using the new drive." "Good," Jack said. "The sooner we move, the less time the Council has to prepare for us." During the journey, Dr. Bennett worked with Jack to prepare the devices they would use to disrupt the Nexus point. "We'll need to place these transmitters within 50 meters of the artifact," she explained. "Once activated, they'll broadcast the disruptive pattern I've developed." Jack studied the small, innocent-looking devices. "And you're sure this will work?" Dr. Bennett's eyes were determined. "I spent 6 months as their lab rat, Commander. I know what I'm doing." On the 4th day, the Shadow dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Thraxis. The planet looked scorched and barren, its surface covered with massive mining operations. "Engaging stealth systems," Captain Chen announced. "We're invisible to their sensors." The team prepared in the drop bay. Their suits now included advanced stealth technology that bent light around them, making them nearly invisible. "Remember," Jack told them, "this is reconnaissance and sabotage. We get in, find the Nexus point, place the transmitters, and get out. No unnecessary risks." They landed the small shuttle in a ravine 5 miles from the main mining complex. Scans showed the Nexus point was housed in a heavily guarded building at the center of the operation. "Movement ahead," Ryan warned as they approached the first security perimeter. A patrol of Vex guards marched along the fence line. "Hold position," Jack ordered. The team froze as the patrol passed within meters of them, their stealth suits working perfectly. They reached the main complex and slipped inside during a shift change. The interior was a maze of corridors and processing rooms, where workers sorted the precious Novium crystals. "The Nexus housing should be below us," Dr. Bennett whispered, checking her scanner. "We need to find a way down." They located a service elevator and descended to the lower levels. The security increased with each floor they passed. On the lowest level, they encountered their first real obstacle, a sealed door with both electronic and biometric locks. "Can handle the electronic part," Megan said, connecting her device to the panel. "But we'll need a Council species handprint for the biolock." Jack thought quickly. "How far are we from the Nexus point?" "Less than 200 meters, Dr. Bennett replied. "Can your devices work from here?" She shook her head. "We need to get closer." As they debated their next move, they heard voices approaching. Council officials discussing something important. The team hid in the shadows as 2 Zorians and a Vex rounded the corner. "The purification protocol is ready," one Zorian said. "High Chancellor Zorlak has set the date for 3 weeks from now. The human problem will be solved permanently." Jack and Dr. Bennett exchanged alarmed glances. The second Zorian placed his hand on the biolock, and the door slid open. The team slipped in behind them, keeping to the shadows. The room beyond was massive, with a central platform holding a glowing crystal structure, the Nexus point. Council, technicians moved around it monitoring equipment and taking readings. "That's it," Dr. Bennett whispered. "And look, they're harvesting Novium to power it." Jack noticed something on a nearby console, detailed plans labeled the purification. He gestured to Megan, who carefully copied the files while the others watched for guards. "We need to place the transmitters at the 4 points I marked," Dr. Bennett said. "North, south, east, and west of the artifact." The team split up, using their stealth technology to move among the Council workers. One by one, they placed the small devices in hidden locations around the nexus point. Last one, in position, Paul reported over the comm. Good, Jack replied. Now let's get what we came for. Dr. Bennett moved to a control terminal while the others kept watch. She downloaded massive amounts of data about the Nexus network, including the locations of other points. Got it, she said finally. And I've added a little surprise to their system. When our transmitters activate, this facility's Novium storage will overload. It should provide quite a distraction. As they made their way back to the surface, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the complex. Security breach in Level 5, a voice announced over the speakers. All personnel, report to stations. That's not for us, Ryan said, checking his scanner. Something else triggered it. They reached the exit just as chaos erupted in the mining complex. Workers ran in all directions as security forces rushed toward the main gates. Incoming ships, Captain Chen reported over the comm. Council patrol vessels, lots of them. Jack watched as the ships landed and Council soldiers poured out. They're not here for us. This is a scheduled security rotation. They used the confusion to slip away, reaching their shuttle undetected. As they lifted off, Dr. Bennett looked back at the mining complex. When Admiral Reynolds gives the signal, those transmitters will activate. This is just the first step. Back aboard the Shadow, they reviewed the information they had stolen. The plans for the purification were worse than they had feared. They're planning to use the Nexus network to send a targeted energy wave, Dr. Bennett explained. It would disrupt human neural patterns across space. In simple terms, it would kill every human in the galaxy instantly. Jack's face hardened. How soon can we hit the other Nexus points? With what we've learned, I can create a more effective disruption pattern, Dr. Bennett said. But we'll need to coordinate attacks on at least 3 more points for maximum effect. Then that's what we'll do, Jack said, sending a message to Admiral Reynolds. The Council wants to wipe us out? They're about to learn that humans don't go quietly. As the Shadow raced back toward Earth, Dr. Bennett made a discovery that changed everything. Hidden in the data she had stolen was information about the origin of the Nexus network. Jack, look at this, she said, showing him ancient records. The artifacts weren't created by the Council races. They were left behind by a species called the progenitors who disappeared thousands of years ago. Jack studied the images of the progenitors. They looked almost human. Is it possible? He began. Dr. Bennett nodded slowly. The genetic markers are clear. Humans are descendants of the progenitors. That's why the Council feared us from the beginning. They knew we might one day reclaim what was ours. Admiral Catherine Reynolds stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiance, Earth's largest battleship. Through the view screen, she watched hundreds of ships gather. This was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. Every ship carried weapons and shields based on the technology they had developed since learning of the Council's betrayal. Status report, she ordered, turning to her bridge crew. All ships report ready, Admiral, said her second-in-command, Captain Edward Mills. The last squadron from Mars just arrived. Reynolds nodded. She felt the weight of the coming battle. Intelligence reports showed the Council was gathering a massive force near the human colony of New Terra. They planned to strike soon. Admiral, incoming transmission from Earth Command, the communications officer announced. A screen lit up, showing the face of General Victor Martinez, head of the Earth Defense Forces. Admiral Reynolds, Commander Murphy's team has completed their mission. All Nexus transmitters are in place. They're returning to join the fleet. Good, Reynolds replied. When can we activate them? Dr. Bennett wants to synchronize the activation with our attack. The disruption will last 6 hours at most. We need to make them count. Reynolds turned to her tactical officer. Prepare the jump coordinates. All ships to battle stations. Across the fleet, alarms sounded as crews prepared for what might be the most important battle in human history. Meanwhile, aboard the EDS Shadow, Jack Murphy and his team were reviewing their completed missions. Over the past 2 weeks, they had infiltrated 3 more Nexus points on different Council worlds, placing Dr. Bennett's disruptive transmitters at each location. All transmitters are online and ready, Dr. Bennett reported, checking her data. Once activated, they'll create a cascading failure in the Nexus network. Jack looked at his tired team with pride. They had accomplished the impossible, slipping past Council defenses and striking at the heart of their power. Good work, everyone. Now we join the fleet for the main assault. The Shadow jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading for the rendezvous point. They arrived just as Admiral Reynolds was addressing the fleet. Today we fight not just for our survival, but for our rightful place in the galaxy. Her voice echoed through every ship. The Council sought to enslave us, to destroy us. They didn't realize they were awakening a sleeping giant. Today they learn what happens when humanity is pushed too far. The massive fleet jumped to the edge of New Terra's system. Scanners immediately detected Council ships, hundreds of them, forming a blockade around the colony. Council forces outnumber us 10-1, Captain Mills reported grimly. Admiral Reynolds' expression didn't change. Numbers aren't everything. Signal Commander Murphy, it's time. Aboard the Shadow, which had joined the fleet, Dr. Bennett received the signal. Activating transmitters now, she said, pressing a sequence on her control panel. Across Council space, the hidden transmitters activated simultaneously. The energy pattern they broadcast rippled through the Nexus network, creating the cascading failure Dr. Bennett had predicted. The effect on the Council fleet was immediate and dramatic. Their ships suddenly lost coordination. Communication channels filled with confused chatter. The perfect formation began to break apart as individual captains lost contact with their command structure. It's working, Jack said, watching the sensor readings. Their psychic commanders are incapacitated. Admiral Reynolds didn't waste a moment. All ships advance. Target their command vessels first. The Earth fleet surged forward, weapons ready. The Defiance led the charge, its advanced shields absorbing the scattered fire from the confused Council ships. Fire quantum torpedoes, Reynolds ordered. Target their flagship. The new weapons phased through normal space, bypassing the Council ship's shields before rematerializing inside their hull. The resulting explosion tore the massive vessel apart. Across the battlefield, human ships engaged the Council forces. The advanced reflective shield technology, developed from Dr. Bennett's research, proved devastatingly effective. Council energy weapons fired at human ships only to have their beams reflected back at them. In the colony below, the human settlers watched in awe as the night sky lit up with explosions. After months of living under Council blockade, liberation had finally come. Admiral, we've broken through their first line, Captain Mills reported. Their ships are retreating to secondary positions. Reynolds nodded. Press the advantage, don't give them time to regroup. The battle continued for hours. Despite their greater numbers, the Council forces were in disarray. Without their nexus, network to coordinate their actions, they fought as individuals against a unified human force. Then disaster struck. A group of Council destroyers, acting on prearranged orders, launched a desperate suicide attack against the Defiance. They overloaded their engines and rammed the Earth flagship at full speed. The Defiance's bridge erupted in explosions. Admiral Reynolds was thrown from her chair as systems failed around her. Emergency force fields activated, containing the damage, but the ship was crippled. Admiral! Captain Mills shouted, rushing to her side. Reynolds lay still, blood seeping from a wound in her head. Get her to medical, he ordered, taking command. All decks report status. As medical teams took the Admiral away, Captain Mills assessed the situation. The Defiance was severely damaged but still operational. More concerning was the appearance of a second Council fleet jumping into the system. They had reserves waiting, he realized, waiting for us to commit our forces. The situation seemed dire until a new voice came over the command channel. Captain Linda Carpenter of the EDS Valiant took charge. All ships, this is Captain Carpenter. Form up on my position. We're going to cut through their center and split their forces. Linda Carpenter was known throughout the fleet as a brilliant tactician. She had studied ancient Earth military history, particularly naval battles where smaller forces defeated larger ones through superior strategy. Captain Carpenter, this is Captain Mills on the Defiance, he responded. Admiral Reynolds is down. You have tactical command. Understood, she replied. How long until the Nexus disruption ends? Mills checked the data from Dr. Bennett. Just under 3 hours. Then we need to break their forces before they can reorganize, Carpenter said. All ships with quantum torpedoes target their heavy cruisers. Fighter squadrons focus on their support ships. Cut their supply lines. The human fleet executed her commands with precision. The battle shifted as Carpenter's strategy took effect. She identified weaknesses in the Council formation and exploited them ruthlessly. They're falling back, reported her tactical officer. Their second fleet is breaking formation. Aboard the Shadow, Jack and Dr. Bennett monitored the battle while analyzing data they had recovered from the nexus points. Something in the ancient records caught Dr. Bennett's attention. Jack, look at this, she said urgently. The Council, records about the progenitors, they're incomplete. Parts have been deliberately erased. Jack looked at the fragmented data. What did they want to hide? I think I know, she said. The progenitors didn't just disappear. According to these records, there was a war. The Council races rose up against them, drove them from their worlds. Jack stared at her. And now their descendants have returned. Exactly. The Council has always known who we really are. That's why they feared us from the first contact. They recognize our genetic signature. This revelation gave new meaning to the battle raging around them. This wasn't just about survival anymore. Humanity was reclaiming its heritage. The Shadow received an urgent transmission from Captain Carpenter. Commander Murphy, we need your team. We've broken through their lines, but our sensors detect something massive on the far side of New Terra's moon. Some kind of Council superweapon. We're on it, Jack replied. Shadow moving to investigate. The small stealth ship slipped away from the main battle, circling around New Terra's moon. What they found there chilled them to the bone, a massive Council vessel unlike any they had seen before, powering up what appeared to be a planet-killing weapon. That's a Nexus amplifier, Dr. Bennett said, her voice shaking. It can redirect the entire network's energy into a single destructive beam. They're going to destroy New Terra rather than let us win. Jack opened a channel to the fleet. Captain Carpenter, we've found their superweapon. It's charging to fire on the colony. We need to stop it now. All available ships converge on Commander Murphy's position, Carpenter ordered. We need to take out that weapon before it fires. As the human ships raced to intercept the threat, Jack knew they might not arrive in time. The Shadow was the only vessel in position to act. We're going in, he told his crew. Full power to engines. Prepare all weapons. The small ship accelerated toward the massive Council vessel, its stealth systems making it nearly invisible until it was too late. The Shadow fired everything it had at the charging weapon, disrupting its power. Systems. The Council vessel turned its defensive weapons on the Shadow, scoring several direct hits. Alarms blared as systems failed. Hull breach on deck 2, reported Captain Chen. Engines at 40%. Keep firing, Jack ordered. We need to buy time for the fleet. As the Shadow continued its desperate attack, the first human reinforcements arrived. Led by the Valiant, they focused all their firepower on the Council superweapon. With a massive explosion, the weapon's power core detonated. The Council vessel broke apart, secondary explosions rippling through its structure. They did it, Captain Carpenter announced to the fleet. The weapon is destroyed. All ships, resume attack pattern Delta. Let's finish this. With their superweapon gone and their forces in disarray, the Council fleet began a full retreat. Human ships pursued, capturing some vessels and destroying others. As the battle wound down, Jack looked at the stars beyond the viewport. For the first time since the Council's betrayal, the path forward seemed clear. Humanity had proven itself. The next step would be taking the battle to the Council's home world. Set course for the fleet, he told Captain Chen. We need to prepare for Miu. The final phase. The Shadow limped back to join the victorious human forces. This battle was won, but Jack knew the war would not end until they reached Vantara Prime and forced the Council to recognize humanity's place in the galaxy. Not as servants or subjects, but as the rightful heirs to the progenitor's legacy. The fleet gathered at the edge of Vantara system. Captain Linda Carpenter stood on the bridge of the Valiant, watching as the last ships arrived. The victory at New Terra had changed everything. Several junior council races had contacted Earth, wanting to switch sides. They had suffered under Zorian rule for centuries. Admiral Reynolds was still recovering from her injuries, so Captain Carpenter remained in command of the fleet. The EDS Defiance had been repaired enough for battle, though some sections remained sealed off. "All ships in position," reported her tactical officer. "The Defiance is ready to lead the assault." Carpenter nodded. "And the Council forces?" "Heavy defenses around Vantara Prime. Our scouts report their entire remaining fleet is there. They've also activated some kind of energy barrier around the planet." The door to the bridge slid open. Commander Jack Murphy and Dr. Olivia Bennett entered. They had been analyzing the data from all the nexus points they had infiltrated. "Captain, we have a plan," Jack said. Dr. Bennett stepped forward. "The energy barrier around Vantara Prime is powered by their central nexus. It's the main hub that controls the entire network. If we can access it, we can not only bring down the barrier but take control of the whole system." "How do we get to it?" Carpenter asked. "If it's on the planet's surface, we'd need to get past their defenses first. We use what we've learned," Jack explained. "A small team can infiltrate the planet using our stealth technology. While the fleet engages their ships, we'll find the central nexus and reprogram it." Back on Earth, Acting Fleet Admiral Gregory, Wilson prepared to make history. As the highest-ranking officer with Admiral Reynolds injured, he had the authority to speak for all of humanity. "Open a channel to all known species in Council space," he ordered. The best communication experts on Earth had found a way to bypass the Council's normal channels, broadcasting directly to all worlds. "Attention, all sentient beings of the galaxy," Wilson began. "I am Fleet Admiral Gregory Wilson of Earth. For too long, the Galactic Council has ruled through deception and fear. They attempted to enslave humanity. They planned our extinction. What they didn't know was that we are the descendants of the progenitors, the ancient race that built the very technology the Council now controls." He paused, letting his words sink in across thousands of worlds. "Today, humanity reclaims its heritage. We offer peace and alliance to all races who recognize our right to exist. To the Council leaders who plotted against us, surrender now, or face the consequences of your actions." As Wilson's message spread across the galaxy, the human fleet prepared for battle. On the Valiant, Captain Carpenter addressed her officers. "This will be the hardest fight yet. The Council is cornered and they know it. They'll throw everything they have at us." Jack's infiltration team prepared their small stealth shuttle. Besides Jack and Dr. Bennett, the team included Lieutenant Ryan Barnes, Sergeant Paul Davis, and Communications Specialist Megan Ward, the same team that had successfully infiltrated the other nexus points. "Once more into the breach," Ryan said, with a grim smile as they boarded the shuttle. The human fleet jumped into the Vantara system, immediately facing heavy fire from the Council defenses. The massive energy barrier surrounding the planet glowed like a second atmosphere. "All ships engage as planned," Captain Carpenter ordered. "Fighter squadrons, target their defense platforms. Cruisers, focus on their battleships." The space around Vantara Prime erupted into chaos as hundreds of ships clashed. Human vessels, though outnumbered, fought with the desperation and determination that had always defined their species. The stealth shuttle carrying Jack's team slipped through the battle undetected. They approached the planet from its night side, using the darkness as additional cover. "Energy barrier ahead," Megan reported. "Sensors show fluctuations in the field, possible weak points." Jack studied the readings. "There, that section is thinner. We can push through without damaging our systems." The shuttle shuddered as it passed through the energy field, but their shields held. They flew low over the surface of Vantara Prime, heading toward the capital city where intelligence placed the central nexus. "Landing zone ahead," Ryan announced. "Minimal security. They're not expecting anyone to get through the barrier." They touched down in a small park near the massive council chambers. The city was in panic mode, with civilians rushing to shelters, and security forces focused on defending government buildings. "Move out," Jack ordered. "Stay in stealth mode." The team activated their suits and moved through the streets like ghosts. The tall crystal buildings of the Zorian capital gleamed in the light of the battle raging in orbit above them. "The central nexus should be beneath the main council chamber," Dr. Bennett said, checking her scanner. There's an access point ahead. They found the entrance guarded by elite Zorian warriors. Even with their stealth technology, getting past would be difficult. We need a distraction, Jack whispered. Sergeant Davis pulled out a small device. I have just the thing. Remote detonator, set to target their communication array across the street. No casualties, but lots of noise. Jack nodded. Davis activated the device, and seconds later, an explosion rocked the communication tower. The guards rushed to investigate, leaving the entrance clear. Move now, Jack ordered. They slipped inside and descended into the heart of the council facility. The corridors were mostly empty, with most personnel either evacuated or manning battle stations. We're getting close, Dr. Bennett said. The energy readings are off the charts. They entered a vast chamber unlike anything they had seen before. In the center stood a massive crystal structure, pulsing with energy that flowed in patterns resembling neural pathways. This was the central nexus, the heart of the network that had given the council power for millennia. It's beautiful, Dr. Bennett whispered. And it's not unguarded, Jack warned, pointing to the far side of the chamber where High Chancellor Zorlak stood with several Zorian elders. Zorlak looked up as if sensing their presence despite their stealth technology. I know you are here, humans, he called out. I can feel the disturbance in the Nexus energy. Show yourselves. Jack signaled his team to hold position, but Dr. Bennett stepped forward, deactivating her stealth field. Hello, Chancellor. We've come to discuss terms. Zorlak's eyes narrowed. The descendant returns. We should have wiped out your kind when we first discovered your world. You knew, Dr. Bennett said. You knew who we were all along. Of course we knew, Zorlak hissed. The genetic markers are unmistakable. The progenitors were supposed to be gone forever, their power broken. Yet here you stand, their children, returning to reclaim what was once theirs. It doesn't have to end in destruction, Dr. Bennett said. We can find a way to coexist. Zorlak laughed, a cold, harsh sound. There is no coexistence with your kind. The prophecy was clear. If the children of the progenitors ever returned, our rule would end. He moved toward a control panel. I would rather destroy it all than let you take control. Jack deactivated his stealth field and stepped forward, weapon raised. Step away from the controls, Chancellor. The other members of the team revealed themselves, surrounding the Zorians. You cannot stop what is coming, Zorlak said, pressing a sequence on the panel. The Nexus will overload, taking this planet and your fleet with it. Dr. Bennett rushed to the controls. He's initiated a cascade failure. I need to stop it. While the team held the Zorians at bay, Dr. Bennett worked frantically to counter Zorlak's commands. The central nexus began to pulse faster, its energy becoming unstable. I need direct access, she said. The system needs to recognize a genetic signature. It will accept. Jack understood. It needs a progenitor. Dr. Bennett nodded. Or the next best thing, a descendant. She placed her hand directly on the crystal surface of the nexus. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The wild energy pattern stabilized, flowing into and through her. Her eyes glowed with the same light as the crystal. It's accepting me, she whispered. I can see everything, the entire network, all the connected worlds. Stop her, Zorlak ordered his guards, but Jack and his team intercepted them. Through her connection to the Nexus, Dr. Bennett sent new commands rippling through the system. The energy barrier around Vantara Prime collapsed. Above the planet, the Council, ship suddenly lost power as the Nexus energy that had enhanced their systems was withdrawn. What have you done? Zorlak demanded. I've reclaimed our heritage, Dr. Bennett said, her voice echoing strangely. The Nexus recognizes me as a rightful user. The children of the progenitors have come home. In orbit, Captain Carpenter watched in amazement as the energy barrier disappeared and the Council fleet drifted powerless. All ships, cease fire on disabled vessels, she ordered. Target only those still fighting. Most of the Council ships surrendered immediately. A few, commanded by zealous Zorian captains, continued to fight until they were destroyed. The path to the surface is clear, Carpenter announced to the fleet. Landing forces, prepare for planetfall. Back in the Nexus chamber, Dr. Bennett finally removed her hand from the crystal. She looked different somehow, more confident, her eyes still holding a trace of the crystal's light. "It's done," she said. "I've reprogrammed the entire network to recognize human DNA. We have full control now." Jack helped her to her feet. "Are you okay?" She nodded. "Better than okay. I understand now why the Council feared us so much. The progenitors didn't just build this technology, they were a part of it, and so are we." High Chancellor Zorlak sank to his knees, defeat written across his alien features. "The prophecy is fulfilled. The children have returned, and our time is ended." Hours later, on the steps of the Council chambers, Captain Carpenter and Commander Murphy watched as human dropships landed in the main square. Earth's flag was raised over the building that had been the center of galactic power for millennia. The surviving Council members were brought before Captain Carpenter. With the authority granted by Admiral Wilson, she presented them with terms of surrender. "The era of Zorian dominance is over," she declared. "All intelligent species will have an equal voice in the new galactic governance. Earth will oversee the transition, as is our right as descendants of the progenitors." Zorlak and the other Council leaders had no choice but to sign the agreement. With their power broken and their secrets exposed, they could only accept humanity's terms. That evening, as the human forces secured the capital, Dr. Bennett made a discovery in the ancient archives beneath the Council chambers. She called Jack to see what she had found. "Look at this," she said, showing him records that predated the Council's formation. The progenitors didn't disappear because they were defeated. They left voluntarily, seeding various worlds with their DNA. Jack studied the star charts she had found. "They created us as an insurance policy. They knew the Council might become corrupt, so they ensured their descendants would eventually return." Dr. Bennett nodded. "Our journey to the stars wasn't random, Jack. It was a homecoming planned for thousands of years." As night fell on Vantara Prime, the human fleet maintained its position in orbit. Across the galaxy, the news spread. The Council had fallen, and a new era had begun. Humanity had not only survived the Council's attempt to destroy them, they had claimed their rightful place among the stars. And for the first time in 12,000 years, the galaxy would know true freedom. Captain Carpenter stood at the window of what had been Zorlak's office, looking out at the stars. "Send a message to Earth," she told her communications officer. "Tell them, the children of the progenitors have come home.